Well, we're at noon now. I guess we can get started. Thank you, everyone who has logged in, and hopefully you're seeing the presentation. My name is Gina Celesti. I'm the marketing manager with Hamilton, and we're going to get started now. So we're going to be covering our presentation is called Data-Driven Banking with Gunnebo IQ. And let me get going here. Oops. I wanted to take the opportunity to let everybody know that next month we're going to have another Lunch and Learn webinar on October 8th at noon Eastern Central Time. And we're going to have Philip Aldridge, Area Sales Manager of Techno Securiza, and he'll be covering the Smart Locks, Mini Tech, and Tech Master, both of which have capabilities of one-time codes and remote management. These locks are ideal systems for banking, cash in transit, and mass market retailers. So we hope you'll sign up on our dealer page soon. I'm going to have that registration ready by the end of the week. So we hope you will join in next week. So I'm going to go into introductions. We have Bailey Craner, who is one of our electrical and software engineers here at Hamilton. He's been with us 6 years and has really carved out a niche in connecting our security hardware and advancement software systems. He's played a key role in designing and developing the new Gunnebo IQ product line. And Bailey's all about making sure our products live up to performance and the reliability that people expect from Hamilton. And also with us is Todd Lefevers, Director of Product Development. And he's been with Hamilton since 1986 and started out in design and drafting. Over the years, he's moved through roles in quoting, estimating, and eventually became plant manager with Hamilton Security in 2012. That's where he really focused on process improvements using tools like Kanban and visual management. Since 2018, Todd's been our Director of Product Development, and he's incredibly passionate about creating solutions that meets our customer needs. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Bailey and Todd.
Thank you, Gina, for a kind introduction. We'll get started here first. We have this great video that marketing made for us about some of the benefits that we see with IQ and a drive-up banking system.
All right.
Okay, I saw that someone said they couldn't hear that, but hopefully they can still hear us talking. Let me make sure. Can you guys hear?
We can hear you guys talking, but we couldn't hear the video.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's all right. I'm going to go over much of what was on the video, so we can cover that again. So here's just a basic overview of what we'll be covering today. And Todd, if at any point you want to jump in and add something, go ahead. But we'll start with the Hamilton IQ pneumatics and how we've improved the hardware to make them smarter and run longer. And then we'll show you a bit about our IQ service panel. We'll go over the queuing improvements and a touch on installation. Then we'll spend most of our time on the Safe Control IQ website, how that can improve branch performance and service performance using analytics. And then finally, I'll touch on support access and how our Hamilton Tech team can seamlessly connect to all of your sites if you're using Safe Control IQ. And then at the very end, we'll try to leave about 10 minutes for questions. So Todd and I can answer anything that you might have questions on. So to start out with, like I said, we'll start with the hardware. The main point with the hardware that's been an improvement over the previous solutions is that this system just stays running a lot longer than the old one did. The system is smart enough to adapt to minor issues and errors that pop up, and it can get around them and continue running without any downtime, as opposed to our old XLR or HA47, which if there was a problem, many times it would mean that you had to shut down that lane and go out there and fix it before it was back up and running. Another thing that we did that really improves the new hardware here is that we've eliminated many of the major failure points. For example, we removed the safety bar, we've removed one of the door open sensors, and we removed a fuse holder. All those things caused a lot of extra service calls for you guys and a lot of extra downtime for the banks. For example, when we removed the safety bar, that was because it would get stuck in an upright position, causing a service tech to have to go out there and just pull that back down. Now we can actually protect someone's hand from getting pinched just by sensing if there's anything physically on top of the door. Also, we're now able to do things like predictive and preventative maintenance, which I'll cover a little bit later when we look at the website. But this allows us to stay ahead of all the problems that are on our devices and actually get them fixed before problems occur or while the lanes are still up and running. We also have real-time diagnostics, which means that every single lane now has logs, event codes, error codes for every single type of event that could happen on every pneumatic. This is still along with the old LED indicators that we used to have, but it's an improvement on those so that you guys can just pull an SD card, or if you have Safe Control IQ, you can look at them right on the website and know everything you need to in order to diagnose it. And then the final thing that we did to improve our hardware was provide over-the-air software updates. So no longer do you guys have to take a chip for a software update and take it out to the site, unplug the old chip and plug the new chip in order to change the software. We actually have, from Hamilton's factory, the engineering team is going to be managing all software updates. These updates can happen in the middle of the night. They usually go down at about 1 to 2 a.m., so there's no downtime for the bank at all. And these can be done without you guys going to the site. The only stipulation is that it's connected to Safe Control IQ. Gina, we can go to the next slide now. The next thing that we've added here is an IQ service panel. So this is a computer that sits within the branch. It's useful for a lot of branch benefits like queuing. We can see the main home screen on the right side of the presentation here. At the top, you can see a line of cars. This is just indicating that the green car would be next to be serviced or helped by a teller. The pink is the second next to be helped, and so on down the line. You can also see at the top that it keeps a running timer of how long each car has been sitting there. And then at the bottom of the screen, we have branch analytics, which can be customized to many different data points, such as how many cars they've helped today, or this week, or this month, or the average time of transaction for like the last day or the last week. And these can all be moved around the screen to be shown however you need them to be shown. And then finally, there's easy error prompts, which again, just help keep the unit up and running as long as possible for the bank so there's no downtime. This can be things like if the teller door is just slightly open and a customer is sitting outside and pressing the send button and nothing is happening, that's because the teller door is just ajar. Instead of having them call you and let you know that they need to set up a service call and you go out there, it will now just flash on the screen for that lane specifically saying that the door is open. And all of these fixes are super, super simple things that would not be a problem for a teller to do, like closing a door. And then there's a secondary page that's not shown here that has a lot of service benefits for a technician on site. There can be things on the screen such as local logs. So all of the same logs and events that I just talked about stored on that SD card or shown on the website are also available on this local computer. And they can be sorted to view for just a single lane or to look at only errors and warnings. And then finally, there's an easy way to see which lane has an error or warning at that time. By hovering your mouse over each individual lane, it'll tell you which errors or warnings are currently happening, and you can.
Well, I think he was at the precise codes, diagnosing, resolving issues easier.
Yeah, I think he was at the last bullet.
Yeah.
We still can't hear you, Bailey. I think your mic headphone may have died. We'll go to the next slide.
Yeah, we can go to the next slide. I can do that. This document is really, the picture's really kind of cool. This is one of Bailey's favorite pieces because it shows the flow of information. It shows how, the whole trail of information, what happens from start to finish. So basically, the nice thing about being under subscription, you really don't have to go check the unit. It's going to send an email to the appropriate people that need to know if there's an issue. So there's no daily checks required, and that's just good for all us people. That if you have hundreds of lanes that you're monitoring, it's awesome because you don't have to worry about them. If you're not getting an email, there really shouldn't be anything done wrong with that. So the second thing would be the remote diagnostics, which is awesome. I mean, from a selfish standpoint from Hamilton, it's really awesome for us too when you're under subscription, because the biggest thing for tech support is deciding what is the problem. Usually we get symptoms. We don't really know what the actual problem is. So, we can diagnose that by the error logs. And if you're on subscription, we can go right to that lane and look at it. It's awesome for everybody involved. The nice thing, if you're on subscription too, you guys would probably do that before you go to site, so that leads right into right tech, right part. So if you know what's wrong, you can send the tech that knows how to. Let's say you need to change out a turbine motor, they know how to do that, and you would also have the turbine motor with you. So the beauty of it is we try to we keep it running when we see things that are happening. So, we can actually give you more time to get the part, and you can try to schedule it with the bank at a better time, that maybe not a Friday afternoon when everybody's trying to cash their check and all those type of things. So the bank's unique situation would tell you what the best time is for that. And then obviously, that's less downtime for them. And there are fewer repeat calls. It's especially for you all that have service contracts. They're, if you can get it done in one trip, you're better off. So, again, the improved uptime, couple things that I think Bailey talked about at the beginning, but, we got rid of the safety bar. We got rid of one of the switches on the door. And then another one that has always been things that it's like the number 3 service call is fuse holders. So there's none of that on the IQ product. The fuses are built onto the board, and they're resettable fuses actually. So the fuse holders would actually just lose connection sometimes, and so that was a really frustrating thing for people to fix. And that goes away with the new IQ version. So I think that finishes that slide.
I think Bailey might be back on. He said he lost his internet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got
problem.
kicked out there for a second. But
Well,
thank
do you want to
for
go
taking
back?
over
Do you have
that.
anything to add to that slide before? So it's up to you.
Nope, I think you covered pretty much everything. It's just nice to know that once they get that email, they can actually sometimes we've noticed that on our beta sites, the tellers or the banks, because the unit stays running, even with some of the errors, sometimes we get to the end and they have that first time visit fix, and the tellers never even knew that it was broken to begin with. So to them and to the bank in the end, it looks like 100% uptime, while you guys are being able to schedule things in the times that work for you and get everything fixed the way it needs to be. So it's a really big improvement on our old stuff. On this next slide, this is just an example that I put up here of the emails that you're going to get from Safe Control IQ. So on the left side of the screen, that's an example email. It's telling us the location name, the address, which lane it was that had the failure. And then finally, at the very bottom, it's showing us which failure code was detected. We can see here it was a 410. So at that point, we have on the right side, I have our manual up. If this is just a table of every single event code, error code, warning code that we have, and this is how you can find solutions to your problems. So we see that we have an error code 410. On the left side of that table, we're going to look for the event code 410, and we can see that that one is a customer call button stuck. In case that name isn't enough of a description to tell you the issue, there's also a description of the event. This one says that the customer unit call button is detected as being stuck. And then the last three boxes on that row are going to show you what are the most likely resolutions, starting with resolution 1 and working through resolution 3. So for this instance, it's telling us that the customer unit call button is always being made, and we need to check the button and most likely replace it. On some other errors, we're going to get up to 3 resolutions, and in about 90 to 95% of cases, these 3 resolutions will fix your problem. So it's a lot quicker from finding that event code or that error code to getting to the end of your problem. We can move on to the next one now. So now what we're moving into is actually what we can see on the website. This is real information that's going to be kind of on your home page for each site. And what we're going to see for every single site is the lane status, which is at the top right-hand corner of the screen. This is going to give us the lane number, the lane name that we've came up with that for that lane, so like a nickname. And then the status is shown on the top right. We can see for this lane, it's showing online with the little orange, yellow-green box. That means everything's okay. There's no errors or warnings. If we were to have a warning, that box would change to a more orangish color, and it would say warning. If it was an error, the box would change to a red color and say error. The last status we can have is offline. This just means that either the lane was unplugged from the network switch, or maybe it was powered off. Something telling us that the lane is no longer running and is completely turned off. On that same lane status portion there, we can also see the software version. So this is, like I was talking before, the software version for that pneumatic lane. Oftentimes when you call into our service department, the first question they're going to ask you is which software version is being run on this lane. And if you have Safe Control IQ, this is easily displayed for you, and our service department can actually look at this information with you at the same time. And then at the bottom of the lane status shows the last communication time. So this is just the last time that that specific lane has sent any information to the website. Even if it's the middle of the weekend, like Saturday night at 12 in the morning, we're still going to get messages coming through. This should be updating always, and it should be within 15 to 20 minutes at least. Finally, at the very bottom of the page, there's another section you'll see on your home screen, which is called Warnings and Errors. This is showing us all of the most recent problems that we're having with this lane. Again, we can see this is the one we got that email for. It's a 410 error code. It's happened 14 times. The last time it happened was on the 20th, and the description is that the customer call button was stuck. So real easily, even from this page, we can diagnose our issue. If we wanted to look into the specific logs of when that happened, we could click on that. It would take us right to the logs. We can move on to the next page, which should show us a bit more about how we can use the IQ analytics to make smarter service decisions. This is a separate page that's also going to be shown for every single site. You're going to get this information for every lane that you have installed. And what it's going to show you is component and lane usage. So if we look at the picture here, we can see that the customer send button, for example, was pressed 13,940 times. That's in its total lifetime since it was installed or replaced. It's been pressed almost 14,000 times. What's really cool that we can use this for is things like preventative maintenance, which I was talking about before. This is where, say, for example, that customer send button, after a few years, we find out on average it starts dying out at 200,000 presses. At 190,000 presses, we can actually send you an automated email, like Todd was telling you about before, that will tell you this part is at the end of its life, and you may want to go and replace it before it's going to die. On the other hand, we also do things called predictive maintenance, which is going to predict when an error is actually going to happen. And we can do that using those two graphs at the bottom of the screen. These graphs are called the door open and close times. So the customer door open and close times, and then also the times that it's taking the carrier to be sent into the bank or back out to the customer. So these are all averages on a day-by-day basis. We can see that right now, the door opening and closing times is hovering around 2 seconds. If all of a sudden that started to really quickly climb to 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, we know that that door is breaking down, or the door motor rather is breaking down. And again, we're tracking that, and we'll send you an email saying that this motor is not broken yet, but it's about to break. So you should get out and replace it. Therefore, the bank should again see no downtime whatsoever. And then finally, we have a lot of IO insights that can be used to do your own preventative maintenance routines, optimize the lane performance, like turn certain lanes on or off if they're getting more usage, and really extend the life of all of these devices. We can go to the next slide, and on this slide, we're going to talk about all of the smarter branch operations that we can do with IQ Analytics. So the last slide, we talked about a lot of the service benefits that we have. Here, we're going to talk about how banking analytics can help the branches perform better. So on this page, what we're seeing, the most useful information that I find many banks that are our beta sites like is the transactions per day. We've actually had sites that before we had this IQ system, they wanted to know how many cars or customers were going through each lane, and they were writing it down on a piece of paper. Now this is actually tracked for them. They can see exactly how many on every single day. If you put your mouse over any of those little dots on that graph, it's going to tell you how many cars for that lane on that day. There's also average transaction time. This is for if you have vehicle detection installed on your unit. You're going to get another graph that looks just like that. It'll tell you on average how long people are sitting there every single day for every single lane. And then finally, we have some up times for the whole site and for each lane. So this just tracks day by day how long each site is actually not working for. And we found that we're usually running about 99.99%, if not 100%, like almost all the time on our beta sites. We've been testing this for a long time, and it's been very reliable. Another thing I'll mention is that we are, like we're working on the software for the pneumatics and updating that, we'll also be working on new features for this Safe Control IQ website, hopefully adding new features and more analytics for both the service and the banking side as we continue. I think that's the last slide I had. So at this point, we can take questions from anyone, and Todd and I can do our best to answer them.
I don't have any that have come into the chat.
Okay.
I had one comment, like it was a couple slides ago, but you had mentioned the metrics of the lanes, and I think it's since we have all these beta sites out and we're collecting data, you said you can manipulate, you can decide which lane to open and shut one versus the other. It's crazy. Lane 1 is like the most used lane 2 is like half of that, and lane 3 is like half of lane 2. It's crazy that it works that way, but that's how the data is presenting itself. So, you could rotate, you could close lane 1 off and force them to use lane 2 and 3 just to keep some of the cycle times on the other units, so. But just kind of back filling that information, what Bailey was talking about. So.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. I think that also is another way we can just extend the life. We didn't know that this information was available to us before, and it's really useful to help extend the life of the units.
I just want to let everybody know that I will have this recording posted on our dealer page, and I will distribute it to all the attendees after the meeting. There is one other question. Is there a pricing breakout available for the IQ software?
Yes, there is, and you would work through your sales team and concierge rep to get that, so that they would, give you the complete solution pricing for it.
Mike chimed in that pricing is on the channel partner portal on the price book.
It is.
Any other questions? We kept it right within the 30-minute time frame, and I appreciate everybody who has joined in. But if you have any specific questions, like Todd had mentioned, you can contact your sales rep, and they can give you some further information. I think that's all we have today then.
Thanks, everybody, for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
thank you all for joining.
Thank you.